Please take your seats and silence your devices. We will begin in 2 minutes. Please welcome to the stage Figma co-founder and CEO, Dylan Field.
Wow, this is amazing. Good morning. Hello, Config London. I hope you're all ready for an awesome day ahead, and just thank you so much for joining us. We could not be more excited, and the speaker lineup is truly amazing. You're in for a real treat. This is technically actually our second Config Europe. Anyone tune into the first one? It was back in September of 2020. So if you don't recall, that was COVID times. And I remember getting up at like 4 a.m. in the morning in California and rushing to the office to do a live stream. And we called it Config Europe. But I think it's fair to say this is the first real one. And personally, I couldn't be more excited to be hosting it here in London, which is my favorite city in the world. And I am so glad to be here with all of you. Also in 2020, we opened our first office in London. This is our first office actually outside of San Francisco. It went dormant for a bit, but as we started to move in, we gained momentum, and now we also have offices in Berlin and also Paris. And we now have actually 230 Figmates in Europe. And this includes many teams, as well as the team that's behind our dev mode product. And so we're very excited to continue to invest in the region. And there's just so much amazing talent here, many of which are in this room. So I hope you're all able to make new friends today, get inspired from each other. This is truly just incredible density of talent. Speaking with from the view, it's amazing. Figma is also trying to localize and come to all of you with our product, not just physically. And so, for example, we launched Spanish recently, I think it was last month. And we are rolling out more in-app languages and localization this year, so stay tuned. Hint, hint. I don't need to tell you all this, but from the start of Figma's history, like immediately when we launched, it was immediately clear that so much of the concentration of design is in Europe. And whether you're looking at the history of design, the culture of design, Europe has always had a very special place in our hearts. And actually 40% of our active users are here in Europe. So much as well, so much of the lineage of design has such deep roots here. And that history is just so rich, whether it's the Gutenberg Press that started it all, the William Morris arts and crafts movement, the Bauhaus School, taking principles and philosophy of merging art, craft, design, technology. If that sounds familiar, it's because we all do it every day. But it doesn't start with software. It starts long before that. Let's recognize it. The Swiss grid system, a revolution in layout and typography. The graphic design and book covers of Jan Chichold. If you recognize some of the stuff that's going on here, and you're someone who works on design systems, maybe there's some similarities. I don't know. The punk movement of the 1970s, because sometimes the only thing that's conventional is to challenge all convention. And Peter Saville's iconic work for factory records. Anyone here wearing a Joy Division t-shirt? There's got to be one. Well, if you are, go to the swag store later and tell them I sent you and that I told them to give you something for free. The contrarian and outspoken work of the Designers Republic, daring us all to have a stronger point of view, which I think is needed today more than ever. The early vector fonts designed by Matthew Carter, like Georgia and Verdana. And of course, the demo scene is something that really inspired me and my co-founder, Evan. Evan in particular was definitely had studied the demo scene deeply. This led to some of his early work, like the WebGL water demo, if anyone's seen that. And that work directly led to Figma. Sometimes I think the best constraints we could possibly ask for are really hard things to optimize for. And those are, in themselves, amazing creative tools. I could go on and on and on and on, and some of the people in this room inevitably will be adding to this incredible canon of work that Europe has created when it comes to design. And so I'm very excited to see what you all do and how you're able to forge a path forward and add your own spirit, your own imprint to the work ahead and to our industry, and add your craft. Fast forwarding to today, we are just continually amazed by how you push our platform and it's everything you do. You surprise us all the time with what you create in Figma. For example, Inga Hampton. Is Inga here? Hello, Inga. This is a speed run of one of her many vector drawings. And the team, when we see these, we go, what? You made that in Figma? Designer Andre Yanko creates all sorts of incredible plugins, advanced prototypes that push animation and interaction possibilities in a way that inspires us as well. And London-based Koto studio, they're going to show up all across the demo today. We showed some of their work in our config keynote for SF as well. And we're very thankful for the opportunity to partner with them on this keynote. So thank you, Koto. In summary, we just love seeing how you push what's possible in Figma so that we can continue to build and improve and see where your needs are so that we can figure out how to make the platform even better. And if you tuned into Config at SF last week, you saw that we launched a bunch of new products, along with improvements to make sure that your day-to-day experience in Figma is even better. So in a few minutes, I'm going to hand it over to the team so we can do a deeper dive into those new products and talk a little bit about behind the scenes, how they're made. But first, I want to spend some time on something else that's really important to us, and that's quality and performance. This is something that we talked about at Config SF as well, and it's so goddamn important that we're going to say it again. We're going to cover it again today. Because Figma, it does not always feel fast, especially with larger files. And last year, the average file size increased by 18%, which is pretty wild. Y'all have been hard at work. So we're also working hard trying to optimize these files for everyday actions like copy-paste, selecting layers, switching pages, panning, zooming, and more, and trying to make this always better. Large images, complex effects, these can also slow files down. And one thing we've been working hard on is caching and decreasing our memory footprint overall, and just generally being smart about memory management. That way we can help you continue to push your visual design forward without Figma getting in the way, because that's a core principle. We never want Figma to get in the way. We want your work to shine. It's about you, not us. We're also progressively loading prototypes and pages and files. And collectively, these improvements, if you look at the cohort of our largest files, have actually decreased load time for those slowest files by 33%. And looking forward, we're working on a big rewrite of a bunch of our underlying design system architecture. This will have all sorts of improvements, including faster instance updating, a more responsive editing experience, and much more. It also increases the velocity in which we can move and improve this area. Because quality and performance are so important to us, we just want to reiterate how hard we're working on this, because you're going to see a lot of new stuff today, and you can see how fast we're expanding our surface areas. But please know that we're working just as hard to make sure the fundamentals of Figma are strong. Because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that Figma is never a barrier for you, and our goal is to keep you in flow and make sure that you're able to just do the best work you can in Figma and to never have the tool get in your way. And I think this is particularly important in today's world, because right now, the role of design is becoming ever more expansive. It's not just a step in the process. Design is the process. Design is more than just pushing pixels. It's pushing what is possible. And in a world where AI is making it so there's ever more software, making it even easier to build software, design is becoming more essential and more powerful. What's going to set you apart as a business? It's going to be craft, it's going to be point of view, it's going to be systems thinking, it's going to be all the things that we know how to do as designers. And I need you all, the world needs you all, to be leaders here. And you're going to be continually asked to step up and to help your organizations win. Because that's what's going to make it so that a product can stand out. That's what's going to make it so that a product can be loved. We hope that Config's product launches today will help all of you push what is possible. And by letting you explore more ideas deeply, by helping you navigate that idea maze faster, get to prototypes faster that you can throw away, and also perfect your work with even more craft, we hope you can get to working products that have that point of view even faster. So with that, I'm going to welcome someone who I have so much admiration for. This is our Chief Product Officer, Yuhki Yamashita. He is one of the rare people who has several brains. He's an incredible designer. He's an incredible product leader, and also an amazing illustrator today. Today you won't see that. I don't think he's going to get work on with the stylus, but ask him later. With that, please welcome Yuhki to the stage, and thank you all for being here.
Dylan. Good morning, Config London. It's so wonderful to be here. All right, so as Dylan mentioned, last week at Config in San Francisco, we launched 4 new products: Figma Make, Figma Draw, Figma Buzz, and Figma Sites, plus Grid and Figma Design. Now, with these launches, we double our product portfolio. And then many of you asked, well, how do these 8 products all fit together? And so our perspective is that the way we think about it is these products together help you in your journey, going from an idea in your head all the way to a product shipped in your user's hands. So maybe early on in your journey, you're jamming using FigJam, and you turn that into a pitch in Figma Slides. And now with Figma Make, you can transform that early idea into a fully working prototype so you can get a feel for that idea and validate that idea faster than ever before. And then you go on to Figma Draw Design, where you're refining these ideas and visualizing them in greater detail. And in Figma Draw, you have now all new ways of expressing yourself in a much richer and more human way. Many of you are now using dev mode to translate those designs into code in your code base by working with your developers. But for those of you who are building websites, you can now publish your designs directly from Figma into a production site, which we're really excited about with Figma Sites. And finally, once launched, we want people to discover and adopt your products. So now it's possible to build marketing assets using Figma Buzz. So Figma is the place where you can truly go end-to-end, all on one platform. Today, we want to go a little bit deeper than last week into each of these new products. So without further ado, let's get started with Figma Make. Now, we believe Figma Make has the ability to completely transform your ideation process. Many of you have so many brilliant ideas, but it takes so much time to validate each and every one of them, which means that so many great ideas are left to never see the light of day. And so with Figma Make, we think this changes. You can turn your designs into fully functioning prototypes with just a few prompts to get a feel for an idea, to decide if you want to iterate on it further, or completely discard it to move on to a new idea. So to dive deeper into Figma Make, please welcome Product Manager Holly Lee.
Hi, Config! It's amazing to be here. So, as we all know, AI is a very powerful tool, but it's really only as helpful as it can be if it fits inside your existing workflow. And so we built Figma Make with that in mind. With Make, you can transform your ideas into powerful apps, or breathe life into your existing designs, transforming them into interactive, dynamic prototypes. Armed with your creativity and your designs, all you have to do is prompt. So let's look at some fun examples together, shall we? Thank you. So last week at Config, we live demoed Figma Make, and we just kind of showed you how easy it is to really bring a design to life. It's as simple as starting with an existing design. So here, looks like my team is building a music playlist generator. We're going to call it Earworm. And because it's all in Figma, It's as simple as copying this frame, going over to Make, pasting it into the prompt box, and I'm just going to say, add some hover states. When I click on a music tile, make it populate the prompt box. Can I spell? There we go. Thank you. And now we're off to the races. So Make is going to reason. It's going to make a plan. We're using Claude 3.7 here, and shortly you're going to see code start to stream in. Now, because we're Figma, we're not just giving it an image of your design, we're actually passing the model your design itself. So it can reference those layers, understand what they're for, and incorporate that knowledge in its generation. But we're not going to stare at this for a couple minutes. Let's flash forward to one that's just come straight out of the oven. So as we can see here, here's the design. Here's this playlist. It populates, like I said. And we know you'd never stop here. You'd keep prompting to add more functionality and more designs. You'd keep building and riffing on this. And to give you more creative control, we're also introducing this nifty little point and edit tool. So with this, you can directly tweak elements on the page, changing their size, their color, their padding. And for more open-ended edits, we can also point and prompt. So you can just pass in specific parts of your design to the model so that it can only make changes there. OK. Now, last week, we also showed some really fun examples of how users are already starting to use Make. We saw customers like Maven Clinic use Figma Make to transform mobile designs into fully interactive desktop prototypes, like this clinic finder. And we also unlocked some really fun new capabilities with Figma Make, like this 3D draw tool from our very talented designer, Tammy. I can never resist playing with this, so let's see how my cursive is. London. There we go. And she built this complete with the skybox and chromatic effects, all in Figma Make. And these examples were done in a single afternoon, so there's no ceiling to what you can create and make. Now, in a world where you can make anything more easily, Make can also unlock the details that really distinguish a just fine product from a truly great one. It can be a craft. It can be a tool for introducing craft to your designs. And so let's take a couple examples here. Let's say we are prototyping a card scanning flow for our mobile banking app. Now with Make, once you publish the app, you can actually access the hardware of your device. So let's try this live. I've got this comically large credit card here, courtesy of our props department. And so let's test this for real. I'm going to scan this card. There we go. OK, and voila. So you can do things for real in Figma Make. Thank you. And let's say, this is going to be a virtual card in a mobile app. You want to play around with how it should move in your user's hands. So with Make, we can also try a bunch of different parameters. So here, it's tilting. Maybe I think that's too much. I'm going to lower that tilt intensity a little bit. And I'm going to remove that surface glare, so it's a little bit easier. Or that world map glow. I'm just going to take that off. And so with Figma Make, you can actually test the full gradient of these different interactions to make sure that you and your team are aligning on the exact perfect prototype that you want. OK, let's go back to another example. If we go back to our playlist generator, it's probably likely that your team wants to test a lot of different micro-interactions here. So for example, I am testing what the drag and drop feels like, maybe what the hover state should look like if I drag a couple in. Let's do 2 songs. Here you go. Nice. Or even what the animations should feel like. And so in Make, it's easier than ever to prototype all of these interactions in one place and evaluate them together. OK. But let's get into some more fun things. Make can also just unlock the ability to design experiences that you could never do in Figma before. So for example, let's try this 3D dashboard car UI. So this is actually using a Mapbox API, dynamically rendering navigation instructions, distances, ETAs. And for those of you who have a keen grasp of London geography, this is actually routing us from Excel here to, I believe, the London Bridge. I don't think it would actually take you 17 minutes with traffic. It's probably a lot more. But this is a really, really nifty example of what you can do in Make. And let's look at one more. I cannot resist using this one. With Make, you can actually customize new UI for creative tools. So we've been making this tool that we're calling Earworm Studio. I've been prompting to add a bunch of different instruments here, and let's see if I have a career in DJing. Okay, let's add some drums, maybe a drop at the beginning. Nice. Okay, I have been playing with this nonstop. You can ask my team. It's a little bit unbearable, but we're really, really excited about how Make can help you create entirely new tools like this. And finally, because we are in London, we couldn't resist also building a 3D world for Otto to play in. And so I'm just using my keyboard here to navigate. Let's see if I can get closer. Oh, stuck in the big eye. It's all right. We get through adversity. And all of this was also done just in a single sitting with Make. So from my team to yours, we cannot wait to see all of the amazing things that you'll create. And with that, I'm going to pass things back to Yuki. Way to go.
All right, thank you, Holly. So that's Figma Make. And we hope that it helps you explore more ideas more deeply than ever before. Now, what's powerful about Figma Make is the ability to bring design and augment it with the power of code to make things more dynamic and realistic looking. And this theme of bringing design and code closer together is something that we've cared about for years and years via features like auto layout and variables, or even products like dev mode. And design and code, speaking the same language, creates so much more efficiencies in the product building process. And that's why we built Figma Sites, which is the most obvious example of us literally translating your designs into working code. And it's also why we're introducing Grid, which helps you mirror some of the layouts that you want to implement in code. So we wanted to tell you a little bit more about these features. So to kick us off with Grid, please welcome designers Kelly Hu and Giorgio Caviglia.
Hello, everyone. So it's actually my first time here in London, which makes me extra excited today to be here and extra excited to dig a little bit deeper into Grid, which we announced last week as a new addition to auto layout. So speaking of auto layout, I'm sure many of you product designers in the room use it every day. Yeah, I see some nodding already. And for a lot of designs, auto layout just feels right, and it feels like it works really well. Whether it's that feeling when the elements snap into place, or the feeling of smashing Shift-A on your keyboard. I know I do that a lot as a designer. But if you've ever used auto layout for two-dimensional layouts, you know that it can sometimes feel quite complicated and slow. And the reality is, when we rely on only horizontal and vertical stacks to create more complex designs, auto layout can lead to some pretty gnarly nesting and layers trees. And at the same time, we move farther and farther away from production-ready layouts. You make containers for your containers and more containers for those containers just to keep things structured. Just take a look at how long this layers tree has gotten. And if we take a closer look, half of these are literally just containers for auto layout. I can't even imagine what a pain this would be for some of your engineers to implement. And I know some of you in the audience use auto layout for everything, and so you've definitely seen worse. And so for all these reasons, we launched Grid to Figma last week with a system that gives you this structure to design for things like galleries, bento boxes, and web layouts, while also granting you the flexibility while building it. And with CSS Grid today being the standard to create responsive layouts on the web, Grid bridges the gap between building responsive designs that also flow. So with that, I'll pass it to Giorgio on the demo laptop to give us a look.
Thank you, Kelly. Hello, London. My name is Giorgio, and yes, everybody calls me Giorgio, in case you wonder.
I'm a product designer at Figma, and last week in San Francisco, we talked about why grid layouts are so important for design, and also how to get started using grid in Figma. Today, we would like to show you how you can use grid to create a variety of layouts. And to do that, I'm going to use this marketing website for this totally real financial app we're building. So let's start here from this hero section. I have this group of images here. And I like using grid in these cases because it gives me absolute control on the size and the position of the elements. But this is supposed to be a credit card. It doesn't look like one yet. So I have a couple of ways to fix this. One is to resize the track, which is OK, but I don't love what happens to the rest of the grid. So what I want to do instead is taking the car, resizing on the left, and breaking the grid, but still be within the grid. So in this way, I can create more dynamic layouts, and looking pretty good to me. So let's move on into the next session below. So we have cards like this, which is pretty common these days, to showcase features for an app. And I don't know you, but when I use a layout like this, I usually want to try different iterations and configuration of these cards. And auto layout today is kind of tricky, because it forces me to structure things before I made any decision. But with grid, it's very easy. Let me show you. I can, for example, reorder items. I can resize them both vertically and horizontally, which, by the way, this is what we mean when we say that grid is great for 2 dimensions. And lastly, I can do this. So as you can see, much better than what I started with.
Yeah, love that. Love me a good bento box, actually.
You got to have one, Kelly. So let's move on. I have this logo wall. And what I want to show you here is how easy it is with grid to reorder things, again, in 2 dimensions. I can do this for a column. I can do this for a row. And again, if you think about doing this with auto layout today, it will be very, very tricky. Lastly, I have this nice collage of pictures for my team. I want to add one more. This image has aspect ratio lock, and it's not exactly where I want it to be. But with grid, it's very easy to align items. So nice. And now I can resize it. And as you can see, everything stays nice in place and resized responsively. OK, what do you think of my website, Kelly?
I think it's looking quite clean, Giorgio, but I think we can spice it up a little bit.
Oh, what do you want to do, Kelly?
So I think what would really spice things up is a pricing table over here.
Very spicy.
Yeah. OK, so looks like someone already set up a pricing section for me over here, and I got a grid. So let's start by dragging some headers, which will let us know the plans that Fortuna offers. So I got a starter, pro, and a business. And I can also drag a row header. Love 0% APR. And I'll just keep duplicating that down the left side. And as I was doing that, I see a replace content suggestion down here. So I'll just click on that so I can be less repetitive. And let's see. Oh, nice. It populated some other features for me. But I'm not quite liking how they're kind of wrapping on 2 lines over here. I know this is a pet peeve for a lot of designers, and I'm just going to drag this over so that we can avoid that and use that fixed track resizing. Cool. And then the last thing I want to do is just drag some more cells in here for the check marks, because obviously all the plans should dictate which features include in them. And just like that, I have a table. What do you think of this, Giorgio?
It's gorgeous, Kelly. But I see all the plans are the same.
Oh, you're so right. I think some of these plans actually need to be different. So I can just go over here to the instance panel and turn them off because they're set up as instances. OK, looking better? Yeah?
That's better.
OK, cool. So I can add this to the web page that Giorgio just built, maybe right in between the layer or the logo wall right there. And just like that, we have a website build with a lot of different grid layouts. So yeah. Thank you, thank you. Awesome. So that's us for Grid. And maybe some of you are wondering how we can take some of the designs like these and put them on the web. So to show us Figma Sites, please welcome Adam, Bill, and Nico.
All right. Hello there. Hi, I'm Adam. I lead product for Sites, and with me,
I'm Bill. I'm one of the engineering leads on Sites.
we're going to take you through a quick tour of Sites. But first, it's kind of hard to believe that Sites has been out for only a week. On behalf of the Sites team, let me just say that we are blown away by what everybody has been creating thus far. Quick show of hands. How many people have created or published a site thus far? All right, my people. For everybody who had their hands down, what are you guys waiting for? Sites was born out of design. It shares like the same DNA. So that means like all of your design skills translate over to Sites nearly perfectly, as well as the designs you've made in Sites in design can come into Sites as well. Bill, I'm on a little bit of a streak. I've been publishing a new website every week, but I have a little bit of websiter's block. Do you have any ideas on something we might create today?
Well, luckily, a friend of mine, Sana Rowe, has a gallery preview opening tomorrow night here in London. And so I've been helping her with some designs to help promote the event. I was thinking we could maybe turn those designs into a website. What do you think?
That sounds great.
Great.
That probably explains the design that you had loaded up on the computer. What a coincidence. All right, let's take a look at what you've got here. Sweet. This is a pretty nice design. I like how you're making the art pop. It's nice and clean. Oh, I also see you've used a lot of auto layout. Very modern, very chic. All right, well, let's turn this into a website. I'm just going to go ahead and click here, and I'm going to go to Copy to Figma Sites. So the design you made should load in here perfectly well. Everything looks pretty much the same. We're working with the same canvas. The first thing I'll do is I'll just go ahead and hit Preview. So preview is a little different than what you're used to in design. Here, what we're previewing is actually CSS, HTML, and JavaScript. So you're getting a preview of exactly what it would look like if it was running in the browser. Honestly, the design looks pretty good. I'm not sure there's much to do, but let's give it the ultimate oh, yeah, it's not super responsive. I'm not sure we should publish this quite yet. OK, no problem, no problem. That's what Sites is for. So you'll notice I've already got a desktop breakpoint. We call this a layout set. I'm going to go ahead and create some new breakpoints, one for tablet, one for mobile. And as I mentioned before, since you're using auto layout, we actually get some of that flow right off the bat. You'll notice like the gallery is going from 3 to 2 to 1. It's looking pretty good. Oh, I noticed actually, we probably got to make a quick change here. This date looks backwards. With multi-edit, all I have to do is edit the, let's get here, preview. All I got to do is edit the main desktop, the primary, and it'll actually edit across all the breakpoints, which is super nice. But I've also got the ability to do some overrides if I want to make some tweaks just to one of the devices. Like this one, I think I want to nudge this guy over to the left. I can even do something like this, like change the flow order. And it's left everything else totally the same. We're just making those overrides on tablet. But so far it's looking OK. I think the only other thing I'd probably want to change is like this header looks really big on mobile, like probably too big. Now, I could do another override here and just reset it down to a smaller size, but I'm going to do something a little bit more reusable. I'm going to go ahead and create a style. So everyone's probably familiar with local styles in design. They work pretty much the same in Sites, except in Sites, they've got a little bit of a superpower. You'll notice they actually have breakpoints. So I'm going to go ahead, and I'll leave that one at 64, but maybe for the tablet one, we'll go down to 48. And for this one, let's see, 36. Looking pretty good. All right, let me go and preview this guy again. Site's looking nice. OK. The moment of truth. Ready? Ready? Here we go. Let's see. OK, a little off on the centering, but I'll take it. It's It's doing what we needed.
Yeah.
All right, Bill. So, I mean, should we hit the publish button and go grab a pint?
I think the layout's looking pretty good, but when I was envisioning this, I thought it was going to be a website, something that feels a little bit more native to the web. So I think there's a little bit more we can do to that to make it feel like it's part of the web.
You want to like zhuzh it up a bit, huh?
A little bit.
Okay, take the keys.
Cool. So a couple things I was thinking about. When I mocked this up, I originally just put in a placeholder for a map, but we have this new Inserts tab, which has a bunch of pre-composed blocks that let you quickly drag and drop things onto the canvas to build a site quickly. And in there, we have embeds as well. So I'm just going to drag this Google Maps embed in here. I'm going to change that to be a fill container. And then I'll just name the location. I don't need to enter the address. So it's occurring at the Thames Side Studios Gallery. And so I'll set that. And then her artwork's really beautiful, so I'd love to make that come to life a bit more when we view it on the web. So I'm going to go into this new Interactions tab here and add an interaction so that when you scroll through the page, as these pieces of art come into view, they'll actually fade in and transition a little bit. So I'll give this a slight delay. We'll do that. And then we've got this kind of new experimental section under Play. I'm going to add a lightbox effect. So when we click on these, you can see them in a nice full preview and have a blur backdrop. So let's take a look at the edits with that. All right, this is what we saw before. Now we've got a nice gradation of fading into the artwork. And then down at the bottom, we've got an actual interactive Google map. So that's feeling a little bit more like the web. But then the real winner is when you'd be able to look at each piece of art up close in a light box effect with a nice blur backdrop. Really brings the art to life. So I think this is starting to feel more like something that belongs on the web. What do you think?
It looks great. I think we're ready for the publish. All right. Well, we just released Sites in public beta. We have a lot of big features like this to come. The next one that's right around the corner is actually the ability to start to use code inside of Sites to extend what you can do. To show you a little bit more about that, let's bring out Nico to talk about code layers.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hello, everyone. This room is so much bigger when there's people in it. But yeah, I'm so excited for this demo. And thank you, Bill and Adam, for showing how sites are super easy to set up. But we wanted kind of like to have our cake and eat it too. We wanted to have a lot more power while retaining Figma's amazing approachability, expressiveness, and iterative flow on the canvas. And so for that, let's take a look at one of the examples we have built over here. So this one, you might have seen this already. This one is config.new. It gives you a bird's eye view about everything that has launched at config. And you can see a couple of interactions already, right? There's some of those things appear. I can drag these things around. This is basically what we already have set up very simply. It's actually built, designed, built, and published in Sites by two of our brand designers primarily. And that's pretty sick if you ask me. And this section down here, if we go down to the section here where there's this quote and this custom cursor, we don't see design as static artifact anymore. The apps we use every day need to keep pace with our changing needs. When I was talking with Becca, one of our brand designers, we were like, I like the quote, right? No offense to him, but the artifact is static. And that's what we'd like to change. And let's do that with code layers. The important part here is, don't worry, I'm not saying designers should code. I'm not starting that debate again. It's actually kind of the opposite, right? We just want you to be able to play. Think of code layers like Figma Make, what Holly presented, but available right here, right on your canvas, in a way that allows you to be as messy as you need to be to explore the open-ended problem space that is ahead of you every day. So if we scroll down over here, let's take a look at this, right? OK, let's copy this one over here to the side, because if you want to explore some stuff and you don't know yet where you're going, it's always good to just copy to the side. And if you see open there on the top right, it's called Make Code from Design. And if I click on this, what it does, it opens this view and it turns this layer into code. And now we can prompt it, right? And so we can say, make each word bounce on hover. And let's go. And while this is working, let's just duplicate this again and say, maybe this one here, highlight each word one by one via opacity. Send this off, close this again, and do that one more time and say, make each word individually repelled by the mouse. Sweet. And so now what's happening is there's actually 3 different generations running at the same time, right? Glad we have a little backup over here, right? So the first one, I know. It's just, with AI, it's always a little tricky. So the first one over here is this like karaoke effect, right? And if we look at this thing here, the AI generates properties for you. This fine-tuning bit is really critical, right? Because maybe I really want to play with how fast this text should be going, or maybe it's really fast, and we don't see the design as static. No, this is too fast, of course, right? Let's take a look at the other examples we've built. Over here, double-click on this one. This one here was trying to be bouncy a little bit. OK, this is nice, but it still kind of feels static, right? Let's take a look at the next one. I can also just move this to the side, click on the next layer, and we reload this one. This one actually, I do like this one. This kind of feels kind of cool, right? There's a fourth one here where I explored a little with blur earlier this morning. It's also kind of cool, but it's more like hazy. It's like after maybe a couple pints of beer. But I think the point is this back and forth, looking at one at a time, isn't great, right? And so I have this all on this page here, and we're just going to select this and hit Shift Space. And you can see that they're all on the same page. Because the important part is being able to explore, make a little bit of a mess, and then compare them side by side, right? And so we still need to bring one of those over. So maybe we should vote. Actually, no, just kidding. I have the mic. I get to decide. So we'll pick this one here. This one is the one that feels the best. I'll take this one. I'll copy this, and ignore the error there. And we'll paste this in, right? And so I think the thing before we demo this in context is if I zoom out, it's like, oh, Nico, you forgot to clean up the file. I'm like, no. That's actually entirely the purpose of all of this. We want to enable you to explore, to make a mess, right? To just kind of go off into a different corner. Because if I was able to create 3 little iterations by myself on a stage in a couple of minutes, just imagine what you could do with your team. Because there's a couple things that make this really feel at home and make it feel like code belongs into Figma. So this example over here, one of the things I want to highlight is that if I double-click this here, we'll demo this in context, I can open this code view. And this code view is a collaborative editor. Like, your developer could jump in here, and we would see the live code changes and the cursor of this developer jumping in here. But what you also see is that, over there on the right with the properties, one of those properties is bound to a variable. That variable is bound to that interactive component that I have here. And so let's see what this does, right? So let's go over to this other page and now actually present the page with all of the rest that's here. This page is loading, and if we go down here, this is the section about Figma Draw. Don't worry, I'm not scooping here anything. We'll show a little bit more about what Draw is all about. But what I prompted here was actually just let me draw, right? So now I can draw. I ask it to just create me a little draw effect so we can make the site a little bit more engaging, right? So I can do this. I can give this dog a little tennis ball. Now the dog's really excited. Maybe make him kind of really focused. Because oh, I really want the ball. Or, okay, let's clear this out, or let's switch it here to red. And this is what happened. The interactive component changes the variable. The variable is changed in the code layer. So they communicate. They belong. Let's give this one a little red beanie, because I do like a red beanie. Maybe add a little bit of color over here. Just add a little bit of shading. So yeah, this is a prompted code layer that I just riffed on it yesterday. You saw the mess on the side. This wasn't super hard. Down here, we can actually see this thing now in context. And now, we really don't see design as a static artifact anymore, right? Because now it's kind of fun. I can explore with this, and it feels like it conveys the message that we want to convey much, much more. It's kind of fun. There's one over here that I also prompted earlier, and this was just getting a little 3D tilt effect based on my mouse cursor. So there's a lot of things you can prompt. And over there, when you're outside, not actually over here on the screen, but outside in this beautiful config area, you've seen all these big bubbles, and they look like bouncy houses. We definitely should get a bouncy house next year, if anyone would ask me. They don't. But the other thing that I feel these remind me of, they remind me of balloons. And so the last example over here was actually just wanted to take these shapes that our brand design team did and make them kind of like little like playful balloons. So if you do make it to the end of the website, you can play with those balloons. And the last idea for events that I have, imagine there's like a trap door up here in this room, and the moment we launch a new feature, we kind of like let all these balloons fall down. And so all in all, we really hope that by allowing you to make a mess on the canvas, you can explore these ideas you have in your head and dig deeper on your hunches, either alone, with your team, or together with a developer side by side. Because the best ideas aren't made alone, and that is true for code as well. Code needs to feel like a material. It needs to feel like it belongs into your workflow inside of Figma. And with this, thank you so much. I'm handing it back to Yuki.
All right, thank you, Nico. Thank you, Adam and Bill as well. So in the demo so far, we've really explored this relationship between design and code and helping turn designs into structure that's more production ready. But just as important as structured design is free-form design that allows you to express yourself and your brand more freely. So the next two products that we're going to talk about are about helping teams express your brand in a deeper way, in a more intentional way. And with Figma Draw, we introduced a bunch of improvements to vector editing capabilities and 22 new features that bring more visual expression to your designs. And with Figma Buzz, you can now work with your friends in marketing to bring life to your brand by letting them create marketing assets at scale. So, first up, to show you Draw, please welcome software engineer Lauren Bedoric and designer Raji King to the stage.
Hi, London. So hopefully by now you all have seen some of the features that we launched last week to enable more efficient vector editing and more visual expression in Figma.
I'm going to try not to get emotional up here, but truly this has been such a labor of love between Lauren and I and our greater Draw team. I mean, like so many Maker Weeks, years ago, we built stuff like this just trying to bring visual expression, more grit, more texture into Figma. On my own, I've created my own plugin called Noise and Texture to do this very thing, just to try to help. Yeah, all right, thank you. All right, didn't expect that. I mean, this is all with the hope to make Figma, give us more tools to express more cool shit in Figma. And Lauren, you built text on a path, you built variable width stroke, and so many more things.
Yeah, and with the way design tools are evolving, we realized it's time to really raise the ceiling on what you can do in Figma. So we're going to walk through a couple examples of some more things that you can do in just a few of our favorite features in Figma Draw. Let's do it.
All right, let's go. We appreciate that. All right, you've had your coffee this morning. Amazing. All right. First up, we're going to start with this lowly, simple circle. And we're going to do something really cool. We're going to first switch into draw mode. And in draw mode, we're going to have a different interface. And we're going to add a texture effect. And I want to zoom in a little bit closer here and show you that it adds a little bit of texture, a little bit of grit. We're getting away from that flat style all the time, and we can have more expressiveness here. Now with texture, let's go ahead and ramp it up a little bit. We can get more of a roughness to it. We can also blow out the radius, and guess what? It's what you all were hoping for, a grainy gradient. But we can also apply it to things like text. So I'll come down here. I've already added texture, and we can see we have a little bit of a pretty rough text. And this is all live. So I can just type into this. Oh, we're going to do this. Oh. Lauren told me to say that. I'm just trying to fit in with the locals over here. All right, now we see this flower illustration, and it's got texture effect already applied to it, but it's doing something that I don't really want it to do. It's actually kind of distorting it and exploding it, and I'm losing some definition in the shape of the object. So I'm just going to go to texture and go right here, and this is why we created clip to shape. Keep those clean edges, but create gradation over the inside that's textured. Now this one's actually pretty fun because I was working on this illustration last week. I love snakes, and I wanted to create some highlight and sheen to the snake's body. Now, if I just simply come over here, it's just a vector line, and I turn on texture, this was such a mind-blowing moment to me. Like, I can just do this with one click, and let's add it here. And once again, now that snake is looking fully shaded. Now we'll talk a little bit about progressive blur. Let's go ahead and fire up a prototype here. You may recognize some names here. Now with progressive blur, we want to be able to use it in such a way to make the text in this card stand out a little bit more. Because sometimes these images are UGC and we actually don't know what they'll be, but they might get a little bit more complicated. So we're going to simply do that. We're going to come in to a layer, and we're going to add a background blur. Now, this is the old style of blur that we have. Still useful, but it's not doing what we want it to do. I don't want to blur out Charlie. So I want to come on in here, use a progressive blur, and then adjust the start point right here. And now you can see we get exactly what I wanted. That text is a little easier to read on that card. And then also, when I scroll through this prototype, maybe I can click here, and we can see that I actually brought up an action sheet with some more progressive blur on it. Let's blur the world, baby. All right. All right, and lastly, I want to show off repeaters, and then I'm going to hand off to Lauren. So we've got this really rad graphic here created by Kodo Studio, and we have all these radially repeated things. And what I want to do is take this pint, which hopefully I'll be having many of tonight, and I'm going to go ahead and add a repeater to it. And this will repeat it radially. You can do linear as well. I'm going to put it in 9, and I'm just going to slide this thing. And I love how playful this is. I can just feel and vibe out, yeah, that looks really good. And we'll start again with another circle, but this time I sort of maximalized the design. I've added gradients and layer blurs and progressive blurs and strokes and blend modes. I've added it all. But I'm going to turn on my repeater, and you can see all of a sudden this helps me to explore really visually rich things very quickly. And if you don't believe me, let's mess around with this border radius a little bit, and let's just spin this thing. So fun, so playful. Next up, we're going on to Lauren.
Cool. Okay, so I'm going to work on this graphic that the brand team is working on, and it's a little bit kind of unfinished right now. And you can see we've added a pattern fill already, but I'm going to add another pattern fill. So I'll add another pattern paint and choose from the canvas. I like this one. And now I can just change the values here. I'll make this fully opaque and make this like a hexagonal pattern, and I can sort of change the sizes here and change the spacing, something like that, maybe something like this. And now this is looking like a really cool pattern. I might also now want to add some kind of noise. And you think of noise as sort of like this traditional noise, but I actually love that I can make this sort of terrazzo feeling noise. And so I'll make this fully opaque, white, large noise, and reduce the density, and something like that I think looks really cool. And then I can also add some texture to this because we love it. So something like this. And now it's looking sort of a lot more like sort of fun brand graphic. Okay, next I'm going to move on to these dinosaurs that Koto has been working on. And I really love these. I want them to feel a little bit more hand-drawn, so I might select all of these and add a dynamic stroke. And you can see now they all sort of have this like wiggly stroke that's really fun. And I can go ahead to my dynamic stroke settings and change like the frequency and the wiggle values here. And actually, I think that looks a little bit too sort of wobbly, so I might try a brush stroke instead. And I can sort of scroll through all these and see all the different brush options. And so maybe I'll pick something like this one. And now these have this really nice sort of hand-drawn feel. And then I'll go over here and give them a flower, because then they won't eat us. And I might realize that actually like none of the brushes are the exact aesthetic that I'm looking for here. So I can create my own brush too. So maybe we'll just make this like sort of squiggle. And then right-click, create a stretch brush. And now I can go to this petal and use my new brush here. And so you can see now it sort of looks scribbly like I wanted. And then I'll add a radial repeater. Oops, that was supposed to be in the group. Add a radial repeater. And now it is a flower. And finally, I'm going to work on these social media assets that we're working on for the Friends of Figma group. And this is looking pretty good. You can see it actually already has some pattern fills and some texture effects and some terrazzo noise. The one thing I think I need is some text on a path. So I'm going to select this path, which is also using a texture, and I can insert this text here and sort of spin it around as I need to. And I have text on a path. Woo. Cool, so those are just a few of our favorite features in Draw. There's a lot more, but for now we're going to hand it over to Natasha and Jasmine, who are going to show us more things you can do with these templates in Figma Buzz. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, London.
Hello, Config London. I'm Natasha, designer at Figma.
And I'm Jasmine, a product manager.
So Raji and Lauren just showed how Figma Draw helps raise the overall ceiling for creative expression in Figma. And now we're excited to tell you how to actually bring those new designs to new audiences. With Figma Buzz, you can basically create more branded content and help your marketing partners turn assets into production-ready work.
So how many of you are already creating branded work in Figma today? There's a few hands in the theater, but actually we know that there's already been millions of marketing assets and branded content that's been created in Figma today. These are things like social posts, campaign visuals, and even print materials. But Figma wasn't exactly designed for this use case. I mean, it works, but we think there's a better way. And if you're a brand designer, you probably know the feeling of being a bottleneck. You're fielding last-minute requests for things that were due yesterday. And one of the real challenges here is actually handing off your work to your collaborators who aren't spending their everyday in Figma. These are people like marketers, comms, and even sales. And so we created Figma Buzz. It's a simplified editor to equip teams with the tools and the confidence to tell their brand story. And it all starts with a template. So let's go show you how it works.
All right. So we are going to actually start off where Raji and Lauren left off. So right now we are in Figma Draw in the Figma Design Editor. Let's say I'm a designer and I'm trying to create marketing assets for the Friends of Figma community in San Francisco. And basically, we had a bunch of watch parties last week, and we just want to create templates so that they can actually say thank you to the community for attending a bunch of these watch parties. So what I'm going to do is actually, from Figma Design, I can just quickly copy these assets and copy-paste them directly into Figma Buzz. So usually people are having to recreate these assets in external platforms, but because this is all in one tool, you could basically just copy-paste. And how does this look, Jasmine? Are we ready to publish?
Let's publish that.
Amazing. So you can, again, publish it directly from this editor, and your team, it'll be available to your whole org and team after it's published. Cool.
Amazing. So now let's put this all to work. I am going to click this Edit Content panel to pop open this Fields panel here. We're saying goodbye to San Francisco and hello to London. So I'm going to make a version of this template that will serve as a thank you post for our London Friends of Figma chapter to post on social media. And by the way, shout out to you all. Thanks so much for hosting us here in London. We so appreciate being here. Awesome. So when you're using this asset, all you really need to focus on is updating the text here. Then you can update the images. So I'm going to upload this logo and make this not the Golden Gate Bridge and make it Big Ben. And there we go. What you can see here is, you can't see my trackpad, but I am attempting to drag some of these assets. And what you'll notice is they're kind of set in place. And this is by design. So as a designer, you don't need to worry about your template being used in unintended ways. This is actually, oh, snaps for that. We like using it for its purpose. But if you really need to just kind of go off of the rails, you can always remove the guidelines here to make everything editable. But I personally don't want to ruin this pretty template, so I will just leave it as that. So there we go. There's our asset.
Nice. Cool. So one final thing. You know what's better than one asset, Jasmine?
Tell me.
80 assets.
There you go.
So one of the most powerful tools today in Buzz is something we love, and it's called bulk create. It allows you to essentially upload a spreadsheet and create many assets in one fell swoop. So I've opened the bulk create panel, and what I'm going to do is actually upload this XLSX file that we've actually exported from a spreadsheet. So we showcased this last week in San Francisco, and it's such a cool feature that we wanted to show it again. So let's say instead of every Friends of Figma leader having to do this on their own, how about we just actually make this for all our Friends of Figma communities around the world? So you'll notice that the data has been uploaded. What I can do is actually pivot to grid view, and I will connect these fields to the corresponding data fields. So for example, thank you, I'll connect it to this field. The city text field, I'll actually connect it to this one. This image, I'll connect it to different Friends of Figma logos, as well as this image connected to this. And again, I'm going to just create 81 assets right in one go. Woo. And it's loading, because images do take a while. But one thing you'll notice is that all of this starts to change. All of this is localized to different languages, logos are updated, images are updated, and I believe this is like 81 assets all in one go without needing to do this manually. So voila, magic.
Now, Buzz is amazing if you have a designer that you're working with to make templates for you, but if you're working solo, you might need some help. We have over 500 templates across many different use cases like social, ads, event announcements, even some cards, and you can use this all over places in the Figma app. You can use it in the Buzz editor, as well as in the new Templates and Tools tab in your file browser, as well as on the community site. And this is actually the largest set of templates that we've ever announced at one fell swoop. So we're really excited for you to get your hands on them, for you to use it all. And in case you want to veer off on your own path and not use a template, we actually have a set of preset font pairings, and we also partnered with community members to bring you patterns, textures, and illustrations for you to use in your creations. And if that's not enough, you can also generate your own images using OpenAI's GPT Image 1. So if you can't find the right picture, texture, or pattern to bring your idea to life, you can just make it. With that, we're absolutely buzzing to see what you all will create. And so let's bring Yuki back out to close us out. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you, Jasmine. Thank you, Natasha. All right. So that was Buzz, and it's now time for the recap. Now, I know that was a lot of products, but here's the good news. If you're already on the full seat paying for Figma Design, then you'll have access to all of these new products. Now, that being said, we know that the full seat is not for everybody, so soon we're going to introduce a new seat, which we're calling the content seat. That will have access to Buzz, Sites CMS, in addition to FigJam and Figma Slides. Now, it's only been a week since we've launched these products and features, but we've learned so much from all of you and all of your usage, so we have a lot more in the works. For example, on Sites, we have CMS and code layers coming, and we have a sprint ongoing right now to ensure that the code that we output for your sites is fully accessible. For Draw, we have variable width stroke coming, and we have a few more features that didn't quite make the cut for config, but is very much in the works. But it's not just about the new products. We have a lot cooking for existing products as well. For example, we're making a ton of new improvements to dev mode. Coming soon as part of this is our own MCP server, so that you can bring and connect an agent in your code editor to your designs in Figma. All of which is to say, oh, thank you. We're excited for it too. All of which is to say, please, please keep the feedback coming as we continue to build upon what we've already launched. So, now to close. Dylan started the talk by talking about how design is no longer about pushing the pixels, it's about pushing what's possible. And that sounds wonderful in the abstract, but what does that actually mean? Well, for us, it means pushing your ideas all the way to the end. We believe a design should never end with a mock, and that it's a designer's responsibility to see through an idea all the way into their users' hands. And Figma Sites is a step in that direction. Pushing what's possible also means allowing you to express any idea you have without feeling the constraints of the tools that you're using or the medium that you're using. And that's why we wanted to offer you new ways to draw with brushes and texture, or let anyone tap into the power of code with AI. So hopefully these new capabilities we shared today give you a little bit more capacity, a bit more motivation to push your designs further than ever before. Now, all of you in the Figma community have been picking up these new products and making, which we love to see. And one of the great joys of being in this business of building tools is seeing how all of you use our tools to dream up things that we could never have imagined. So you inspire us every single day, and thank you so much for that. Thank you. And thank you for kicking off Config London with us today. I hope to see and meet many of you. So please come and say hi and tell us how we can build an even better Figma for you. We have an amazing day of content ahead. We're going to be taking a short break, but we're right back here in at 11 for the next program. Thank you so, so much.